I was a ranger at a park for 5 years, and I prided myself on my ability to spot anything out of the ordinary. I decided to be a park ranger for a lot of reasons, but one main reason is that I loved going out and surrounded myself with trees all around me. I thought it was going to stay like this, but then there was an incident which made me quit my job and chose another career. One night I was patrolling an area and I noticed that there was a campfire up ahead. This was a no campfire zone, so no one was supposed to camp out there at night and made a fire. Seeing this, I parked my car and walked up to the campfire, which was like 50 or so feet away from the dirt road. When I got up to it, I scanned the area for any sign of life, but there was no one there. There was not even a tent there, so my thought was that whoever made the fire must have left. I then turned back to the car to get my shovel so I can put out the fire. When I went up to the car and took out the shovel, I heard a whistling sound coming from the campfire. I spun back towards it, but I didn't see anything. I started to have goosebumps at this point, so I took out my flashlight and did a thorough scan of the area. Upon seeing nothing again, I took the shovel back to the fire, and when I was about to start putting out the fire, I heard the whistle again, but this time it sounded like it was coming up. I checked up and nothing was still. I started having a gut feeling that something was not right when I heard the sound of a door slowly creaking open. It was the door of my car. I looked at it, and I could see it slowly being opened, but there was no one there opening it. At around this time, I felt something threw some dirt on my head, so I did the only thing I could. I dropped my shovel and started running towards my truck. When I got near it, I didn't see anyone, so I ran inside and closed the door. I looked at the campfire again, and this time I could see a figure. To my horror, the figure had no upper jaw. It was just sitting there, looking at me with a blank expression. It did not move at all, so at first I thought I was mistaken. Then the figure slowly stood up and just started doing a horrifying howl towards the sky. It was such a strange and creepy sound since there was no lower jaws, so the sound that came out was like nothing I had ever seen before. I did not wait any longer, I just drove as fast away from there as I could. When I got to the station, I told everyone what had happened. They didn't believe me, so a couple of guys went along with me back to the spot, but this time we were armed with shotguns. When we got there, there was no campfire. It was as if no one was even here. The guys were looking at me like I was just seeing things due to stress. We stayed there for a while to investigate but see nothing. When we were getting inside the car, I heard a whistle. I quickly asked if they heard it too, but no one did. I was the last one to get inside the car, and the whistles kept going on for a couple of times, but no one could hear them except for me. The next day I went out and couldn't hear the whistle, so I thought it was over, but then when I went out at night, I kept hearing whistles again. I found out that the whistles only started when I went out to the forest at night. I made the decision to leave my work because I was concerned that if I stayed, I would not be able to survive another day. As a rookie park ranger, my duty was simple. All I had to do was drive around and see if there was anything illegal going around, and if there was, I was to call and report in before doing anything else. Simple enough, so I started doing that for a while. About a month in, as I was driving around, a man suddenly came out from the bushes and waved for me to stop. At first, I was taken aback and unsure of what to do. As a rookie, I had never encountered a situation like this before. The man was dressed in outdoor gear and looked like they had been hiking, but at the same thing, there was a strange feeling about him. I hesitated for a moment before rolling down my window to ask the person if they were all right. The person approached my car and leaned in towards the window. "Thank goodness I found you," he said. "I've been lost for hours and my phone is dead. Can you please help me?" I could see the fear in his eyes and I knew I couldn't just drive away and leave him there. "Of course," I said, unlocking the doors to let them in. But the moment I opened my door, the man suddenly opened his eyes very wide and stared at me in horror, like he just saw something truly terrifying, and just started running off into the forest. I was shocked and did not know how to react to the situation. My heart was racing as I watched the man disappear into the woods. I sat there for a few minutes, trying to process what had just happened. Was the man in danger? Was he running from something or someone? I quickly grabbed my radio and called for backup, informing them of the situation and the man's description. As I waited for backup to arrive, I suddenly heard a blood-curdling scream from the direction he was running towards, so without a thought, I just bolted out of the car and started running towards him with my gun drawn. When I got there and saw him, I noticed that he was naked this time and just started shouting while going on all four. The situation was so strange that I did not react for a second. The moment I did, I yelled and told him to calm down. The man turned towards me and made a growl, like he was about to jump and attack me. I did not want to shoot at him, so I put a distance between us and told him to calm down again. Instead, he just took off again, this time on all four. I could see that his knees were bleeding from the branches and rocks, so I chased after him, wanting to make him stop. I saw him turn a corner, and when I did, I had to make an abrupt stop because up ahead I could see the biggest bobcat in my life, just standing there, looking at me and growling. I slowly backed away, and only let out a breath when I was far enough away and saw that the bobcat was not coming this way. As I drove back to the ranger station, I tried to calm myself down and think rationally. What had just happened? Was the man I encountered suffering from some kind of mental illness, or was he under the influence of drugs? Or was he simply a victim of a predator in the woods? Did the bobcat kill him? Or maybe he turned into the bobcat? I had so many questions, but not enough answers. I knew I had to report everything to my supervisor and let them handle it. When I got back to the ranger station, I immediately informed my supervisor of what had happened and gave them a detailed report. The story was so strange that it seemed no one believed me completely. The park rangers searched the area where I had encountered the man but didn't see anything weird. The man just seemed to disappear into thin air. I'm glad too, because I did not see him anymore either. My partner and I were doing our nightly round, just driving around. We had done this so many times with nothing happening, so this time we did not expect anything to happen either. We were just driving around, joking and making fun of each other as usual. When we were at the end of our round, we decided to drive slowly this time to enjoy nature and the sounds of insects going at it in the distance. When we got to the corner, I suddenly heard a noise like someone was choking and asking for help at a tree near us. I told my partner to stop the car, and I listened again. We could hear the voice again, asking for help. We couldn't quite determine the gender of the voice, as it was too low and muffled, as if the person's mouth was covered by something. We both turned our flashlight towards the sound, and there it was, a body was lying down, just a bit down where our car was. The body was partially hidden by trees and bushes, so all we could see was the legs. We both looked at each other and walked out towards it. The moment we were near it, we came into contact with a horrifying smell. It was the smell of a body rotting for a while. The smell so bad that we both had to take a step back. We then covered our noses with shirts and walked up to it again. When we saw the face, from the body and clothes, we could deduce that it was a man. The only problem was, the man's face was missing a chunk of it, as if he was shot in the face with a shotgun. We then looked around, because if the man was dead, then who was the one we heard asking for help? We scanned the area around us, trying to find any clues as to who could have been making the noise. As we walked around, we noticed a blood trail leading away from the body. We followed the trail, and up ahead, we could see another body lying in the distance. As we got closer, we realized it was a woman, and her face was also missing a chunk, just like the man we had found earlier. We were shocked and horrified at the sight of two dead bodies, and we knew we had to call for backup. We called the police and waited for them to arrive. As we waited, we tried to piece together what could have happened. It just made us more confused and didn't answer our question. If both of them were already dead, then who was the one asking for help? After a while, the police arrived, and we showed them the bodies and the blood trail. They immediately began their investigation and questioned us about what we had seen and heard. We told them about the voice too, so their first thought was there was still someone there, needing help. We took the whole night searching for the person, but we did not find anything at all. The next day everyone told us that we might have just heard the wind and mistook it for a voice. It was so weird and creepy that both my partner and I agreed that maybe it was just the wind. We did not want to think of the other possibility. Thank God nothing else happened from then now. It went back to being a somewhat peaceful time.